Welcome to Rumble Book Club. I'm your host, Mike Hernandez, and this is the show where a normal guy like me can talk about interesting books I've read, old and new, good and bad. So if you like the show, you like the commentary that I give, go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube as well as Rumble. Those are our two big video platforms. And then follow us on Twitter, Getter, TikTok, Parler, and Truth Social. We're everywhere, man. So go ahead and give us a shout and follow us, be a part of the conversation. All right, my reading friends, today we're going to take a look at an awesome book that I finished this summer, and I'm really excited because now I get to share it with you. Today we're going to take a look at The Sun Also Rises, a legendary novel by the legendary man Ernest Hemingway. This is a superbly told story about the lost generation of men and women reeling in the aftershock of the First World War, chronicling the lives of a small group of friends, lovers, and associates as they travel from France through Spain, ending up in Pamplona to see the famous running of the bulls in all of its festivity. And you get to see their relationships really intertwined, particularly on their journey to Spain. All right, let's start with our three-part criteria, starting off with the aesthetics. I have a special copy that consists of a collection of The Sun Also Rises and other stories by Hemingway, so it's not exclusively just that novel. It's quite beautifully crafted, I think. Kept relatively simple, save for the design of the embossed words that are kind of creating the sun rays here. Typically, I'm more of a fan of the very, very simple, boring cover. I think they still manage that. Again, this is a very, very beautiful print. It's got kind of a soft leather feel. The design of the bull on the inside, bright red. Very beautiful. So as far as the aesthetics, very strong. 9 out of 10. Now let's look at the readability. Hemingway is predominantly an action writer in a sense that he doesn't write omnipotently and uses the words and deeds of each character to present themselves. He doesn't waste much time with exposition and immediately makes you a part of the story. His diction and phrasing is clear and quite forward in its style, but nonetheless, it is older writing with references to places, people, and things that do occasionally get lost on the modern reader like myself, but they are kept to a relative minimum, and most of the concepts that he discusses are fairly timeless. So as far as the readability goes, very strong score. 8 out of 10. Now let's look at the content. Hemingway primarily tells the story of Jake Barnes, an American expatriate and war veteran living in France as a writer. He shares a reluctant friendship with his neighbor or close by neighbor named Robert Kahn, a former American Jewish boxer and current author who has a struggle in his love life, including a failed marriage. During Jake's kind of listless days and nights writing and drinking in France, he runs into Lady Brett Ashley. Brett is a former volunteer nurse who helped take care of Jake while he was a soldier injured on the battlefield during World War I. During the war, they become lovers, but due to his injuries, his unique injuries from the battle, they have no way of really physically consummating their love, and Brett is unwilling to give up her need for sensuality in a relationship, and so she leaves him. But while they're meeting again years later in France, Brett tells him how unhappy she is in her life of bars and men and this kind of listless, directionless way. She's engaged to be married to Mike Campbell, a Scottish veteran of the war as well, who's also a bit of a scoundrel and heavy drinker in the nighttime. Hemingway depicts their life in France, partying and drinking and having predominantly empty conversations, appearing to be unable to create serious friendships and relationships that have much purpose or security. Over the course of the novel, Jake, Brett, Mike, Robert, and Bill Gorton, another writer in front of Jake's, decide to go to Spain in different groups and meet up in Pamplona to witness the running of the bulls. From Hemingway's writing, you can tell that in the very least, Jake and Bill have at least kind of seen the running of the bulls before. Jake is actually friends with one of the hotel owners in Pamplona, who already knows him, recognizes him, knows that he's a bull enthusiast. So Bill and Jake go together slowly, kind of winding their way through the countryside of Spain and enjoy some fishing and some quiet and peace for a while. Mike and Brett leave with Robert kind of in tow, who's become very much obsessed with Brett despite the fact that she is engaged, and they kind of leave separately on their way to Spain. As they meet up in Spain, a lot of the real human interest in their lives begins to pick up as their characters start to actually clash in some way, and sometimes even violent manners, and mix up in a variety of ways. As the festival, the bulls, really picks up steam, and they're witnessing all these battles on the bull ring, but also you start seeing kind of parallel battles happening outside the ring with these kind of, I guess, human bulls, so to speak. During their stay there, Brett becomes more disgruntled with Mike as his drinking picks up, his aggressiveness in conversations and arguments starts to pick up, and she becomes fascinated by a young, classically trained bullfighter named Romero, who has a combination of promise and passion and also innocence because of his youth. Brett decides to run off with Romero, but leaves him shortly after, making the I would consider very small but humble decision to not corrupt his youth and innocence with her own kind of notorious lifestyle of kind of swinging with other guys. There's a particular scene in this book that really stood out to me. Jake and Bill are in the Spanish countryside, and they have to walk miles just to get to the fishing spot from their small little inn where they're staying. And he talks about the experience, Hemingway discusses the experience of taking the wine, placing it in the river water, which is very cool to cool off the wine so they can enjoy it and eat the fish that they catch and the wine that they brought along and chilled in the river water. And there's this one small part that really stood out to me where Jake kind of runs his hands through the river water, and he talks about the cool, smooth weight of the water in his hands. And for those of you that have ever felt river water, it's not splashing against your hands. You don't really feel the texture of the water as kind of rough or kind of bubbly in your hands. When you get that very cool stream that hits your hands, it feels like a cold stone in your hands. And the way Hemingway was able to really express that in his writing just kind of blew me away, and it really felt like you were there in that moment. So I was very, very much impressed by it. So as far as the content goes, stellar score, 9 out of 10. I got this book at a bookshop in Galveston. That I believe that this copy was sold almost exclusively there, but you might be able to find this particular copy if you do a little searching online, or if you happen to live near Galveston, Texas, or within a drive away. But I highly recommend y'all getting this novel. You can find this novel absolutely anywhere, if not in this specific copy. But it's a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. Go out and get yourself a copy. Thanks for watching, everybody, and go read something.